Kevin Costner's The West is a new 8-part episode docuseries on History Channel. Executive producer Doris, Kearns, Goodwin here to chat more. Thank you so much for your time today.
Glad to be with you.
Let's talk a little bit about Kevin Costner. Obviously, the roles that he chooses, we see things, or the projects, we see things like Hatfields and McCoy, Yellowstone, Wyatt Earp. So obviously, this part of history, this part of time is very near and dear to his heart.
Well, he's loved the West since he was 7 years old. He tells the story of having gone to a movie with his friends for a birthday party. And he was so fascinated, he didn't want to go out during the intermission, how the West was won. He just saw these Native Americans with feathers and blankets. He wanted to know them. He wanted to be their friends. So he's made a lifetime, really, of studying the West, all the great movies he's made. And now to have his help and direction in this documentary, 8 hours, each one an individual story. And he wanted each story to tell a different aspect of the West. So some of it has to do with settlers moving west with their women. Others has to do with missionaries going west to try and bring Christianity to the Native Americans. Still others have to do with a captive being taken from a southern place and being taken to a Native American tribe, assimilating, having married the chief and having 3 children. He just wanted all the diverse stories to be told so you can see how many emotions and family experiences are caught up in the settling of the West.
I want to talk a little bit about putting the series together, because obviously, you hear these stories and a lot of myths go into it. A lot of, film and television projects go into kind of retelling the stories, from different perspectives. But to take a historical look at it and to get different perspectives, tell a little bit about, the process of putting this the series together.
Well, right away, the decision was made that it would cover the area from the 1790s to the 1890s. So you're taking a whole century, and each one would be a specific hour, and each one would tell a story from the point of view of a number of people that were involved together, so that you can get a beginning and a middle and an end to what was happening to that missionary or that person who was captive to the Native American tribe, or a guy named John Colter who was with Lewis and Clark, but then didn't want to leave and stayed there to be part of the fur trade. And then you hear about what happened in Kansas and Nebraska during the struggle for the Civil War, because those were new states that were being formed in the West. So you're getting diverse perspectives, and you're seeing how multi-dimensional the whole settlement of the West was, and it made our country what we are today.
Let's talk a little bit about the impact of the presidential backdrop, because obviously, in modern times, we get to see how culture shifts depending on who's in charge. But, talk a little bit about, what we're seeing in the series versus kind of who was in charge at that time.
Well, it does make a difference who were the presidents at that time. Obviously, when Jefferson comes in and gets that Louisiana Purchase, an extraordinary, for, I think it was $15 million, and it doubled the size of America. It's incredible, right? And then you get Polk coming in, and he's a manifest destiny guy. And so he's involved in that whole Mexican-American War, which in some ways was instigated. And that we get a lot of land as a result of it. And then Lincoln is the president during the time of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. And not he's the president, he's just a person going through the 1850s. It changes his life when that happens, because we have to decide which states will be free and which states will be slave states. So you see them from the top down, which I knew before, but through this series, I've learned it from the ground up. So much more did I learn about the West through Kevin Costner. He was like a teacher for me during this process.
That's what I'm about to ask you, as far as, something more wild than you expected. Because, we've had the pleasure, I've had the pleasure of chatting with you when we talked about, Abraham Lincoln or FDR. But to kind of see this whole history, 100 years and so many different factors. I'm sure there's things that maybe you were learning or maybe were surprised by.
No, without a question. I think what you see essentially is that the movement from Europe to America was a movement of people who were searching for a better life, right? Then they're in that thin sliver of land on the East Coast. And then when that first revolution gives us a certain amount of land from Great Britain, and they move further west to have a better life, they get to the Mississippi. And then the Louisiana Purchase, they get to the Rocky Mountains. And then there's the gold rush, and then that brings them to California. And you watch all of these movements of people, and they're all seeking something different for themselves. And they come in conflict, obviously. So you feel the sense of the drama, you feel the humanity, you feel the sadness, you feel the wonder. And this is the America that becomes America.
Wonderful. Well, Doris, thank you so much for your time today. May 26th is when we're going to get back-to-back episodes. And then we're going to get a new episode on Tuesday and then new episodes every Monday thereafter on History Channel. Obviously, Kevin Costner is the West on History Channel. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. I'm glad I could be with you.
Thank you.